So a couple of weeks ago, out of absolute boredom, I decided to scroll through Facebook Marketplace and see what I could find, even though I don't have any money. I actually came across an ad that said drum stuff. So I immediately click on the ad and scroll down to the description, and this guy says, "Mixed bag of drum particles need better home." So then I knew this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Right off the bat, on the left side of the screen, I'm looking at the red sparkle snare drum, which I assumed to be 60s or 70s at the time. I see the rototoms, of course, and it looks like there's actually another shell behind those two drums. The bottom shelf, I see there's a tom shell, and then probably 3 or 4 solid bass kick drum pedals. And of course the middle is full of hardware, and actually there are some 4-tom legs somewhere in there too. So now I'm interested, right? There's a guy with drum stuff that doesn't know what he has. I decided to message him. I said, "Hey man, is this still available?" He said, "Yeah, of course. Come get it all for 40 bucks. I was like, I can be there today. So I ended up going there the next day. Everything was exactly like it was in the picture. Actually, besides the rototoms, he said those were friends. But besides that, everything worked out just fine. He gave me everything in the picture and more. I wanted to make this video to show you guys how I sorted through the gear, how I cleaned it up, and how I'm actually going to utilize it in the future. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to show you what I paid for the gear versus the actual value. Hope you guys enjoy. So this is what I ended up getting for 40 bucks from some random guy on Facebook Marketplace. So you can see over here we got the shells of different kinds. We got a snare and 2 tom type things. We got a few kick drum pedals here. He also threw in this random microphone thing that I'll have to figure out what that is later. That actually wasn't in the picture, he just threw it in my car. This is a bunch of random hardware that I'll have to figure out how it goes together and what exactly is in this pile here. And then there's this little bucket of random parts. I can already see some of these parts go to that pearl kick pedal over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is probably separate all of these parts, and hopefully we'll be able to make a few things out of this giant pile of junk. So as I was going through some of this hardware, I noticed that some of it was in really bad shape. So I just basically salvaged the parts, like rubber feet, springs, and screws, and added it to some of the hardware that was in better shape so that I could make one piece of really good hardware that actually worked for me. For the Eclipse pedal, I will most likely use it for parts since it is in such bad shape. As far as the PDP pedal goes, it's in great shape and I'll probably use it as a practice pedal. The Pearl P900 is in the best shape since it has all the parts. And then the Eliminator, of course, it's missing the spring, but it really just needs to be cleaned, and I'll probably use parts from the other pedal. This bass drum beater is obviously missing felt. I was able to use some material from Hobby Lobby and then just cut it out, use some super glue, and fix it. This is the drum that I was most excited about. It turned out to be a 1960s MIJ Audition snare drum. So we're going to clean this up really nice. We're going to take the drum completely apart and soak the hardware in vinegar. For this Eclipse Rack tom, it's in pretty bad shape, so I'll probably just take it apart and take the wrap off and end up staining it. This is a floor tom that got cut in half, so I'm probably going to stain it and make it into a table of some kind. So I decided to take this snare drum completely apart and soak all the hardware in vinegar. Basically all I did was take all the hardware out and use tin foil as an abrasive to take all the rust off. Then I went back and wiped it all off with just a clean microfiber towel or cloth. So once that was done, all I needed to do was put the hardware back on the snare drum. This PDP PDP pedal actually cleaned up really nicely, and since I added a beater to it, based on the condition, I think $50 is a pretty fair price. I was able to use the repaired bass drum beater, and I think $75 is a great price for a used pedal. So with the Eliminator pedal, I was actually able to use the spring that I salvaged from the Eclipse pedal, and it's basically like brand new. So for the Eclipse tom, I actually removed the wrap, cleaned the lugs, and stained it brown. Same thing with this drum. I actually think I'm going to make it into a side table, so I'm not sure about the value. And of course the Audition drum turned out to be beautiful. This hardware we soaked in vinegar, cleaned up the shell really nice, and I think $100 is a great value for this vintage snare. And lastly, we have all the remaining hardware that I was able to salvage. We have a good set of 4-tom legs. We also were able to get 4 Gibraltar tom arms. We also have 3 tom arms, I think 2 of them being pearl. One of them is actually an Eclipse tom arm, but I think $35 is a good price for all 3 of them. But the next thing we have are Gibraltar rack mounts, and they all have screws. They're fully operational. All of this hardware is in very good condition. This is a PDP snare basket. Again, it's fully functional. So these are just some of the smaller parts that we were able to salvage from the hardware that was too far gone. But we did take those parts that were useful off, like memory locks, rubber feet, and different kind of screws, washers, felts. So this hi-hat stand is actually built from like 3 different hi-hat stands. I was able to take the springs and the screws and make one solid stand. As far as the snare drum stand goes, it's not height adjustable, but it does work. It has all the rubber feet, and again, all of this hardware is now fully functional. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to salvage everything. This is a box of some of the stuff that I wasn't able to use. And of course, I bought all of this in the beginning at $40. After adding everything up, surprisingly, it added up to around $500. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Leave a suggestion in the comments below about the next video. Y'all stay safe.